Determine the domain and the range of each relation. First, y equals negative x plus 3. Observe this expression. We can figure out x can be any real number, y can be any real number. We don't need to consider any restriction for this expression. So the domain should be the real number, the range also the whole real number. Okay, question B. Y equals x plus 1 squared minus 4. First, observe this part. We should consider y equals x squared as the base relation. This relation, its graph, should be like this. That is to say, the vertex should be the origin. On the basis of this base relation, we can figure out this relation. Here, it is plus 1, so we can transform this graph to the left side by unit 1. So we can get this vertex, this graph, representing this relation. On the basis of this graph, we need to translate the whole graph downwards by unit 4. So the vertex should be here, 1, 2, 3, 4. It should be here. This is the new graph for this expression. Okay, from the graph, we can figure out the domain and the range. This relation, its domain should be real number because over the whole x-axis, it will be possible for this relation. So x can be any real number, but for the range, the graph above this horizontal line and the vertex is just on the horizontal line, so all the points on this graph, their y coordinates should be greater than -4 or equal to -4. So the range should be greater than or equal to -4. This is the range. Question C. Y equals -3x squared plus 1. For this relation, we observe this part, so we think of, we can analyze this part, and this part, we should think of this basic or parent relation. For this base relation, of course, we are familiar with its graph should be like this, and on the basis of this graph, we want to multiply -3, so we need to first amplify this by factor 3, so it should be like this. Then, on the basis of the graph, we need to reflect this graph over x-axis, because here it is -3, so it should be y equals -3x squared. On the basis of this graph, we need to translate the whole graph upwards by 1 unit, always say by unit 1, so it should be here. This is the vertex, it should be 0, 1. Then we can analyze its domain and range. The domain can be any real number. The range less than or equal to positive 1. Okay, this is question C. Next question, question D. X squared plus y squared equals 9. We have known this relation represents a circle with the center at the origin. The radius should be 3, that you say, this one. Okay, and here it should be negative 3, positive 3, positive 3, negative 3. So the x should be between this interval and the y should be within this interval. So the domain x greater than or equal to negative 3, less than or equal to positive 3. The range also greater than negative 3 or equal to negative 3, less than or equal to positive 3. This is the range and the domain. Question E. Here we have y equals 1 over x plus 3. From this expression, first we observe denominator. We know denominator x plus 3, anytime it cannot be equal to 0, so x cannot be equal to negative 3. Except for negative 3, x can be any real number. So x can be real number, but it cannot be equal to negative 3. This is the domain. And for the range, first we analyze this base relation. We know this relation can be represented by two branches. This is y equals 1 over x. On the basis of this base relation, we need to transform this base relation to figure out the new relation. We need to transform the graph of this relation to the left side by unit 3. So it should be here, it should be negative 3. The new branch should be like this. In fact, this is the point of symmetry for these two red branches. Okay, observe these new branches. We can figure out the corresponding range that you say y can be any real number which is not equal to 0. This is the range for this relation. Next, question F. Y equals 2x plus 1 under the square root notation. Because we know under the square root notation, 2x plus 1 must be non-negative number, so it should be greater than 0 or equal to 0. So 2x greater than or equal to negative 1x greater than or equal to negative 1 over 2. This is the range. And we have known here it should be positive number. So For any positive number, its square root should be positive number. So the range y must be greater than 0 or equal to 0. This is the range for this relation.